I am a journalist. I've been a journalist for a half of my life, and it's not a figure of speech. Facts are something I dig for, something I work on, and something I believe in. I can even say that facts are something I live off. That's why I want you to listen to this story. It happened 4 years ago, just after my son was born. I was going to vaccinate him. I remember the whole way to the clinic. My husband is driving, I'm sitting in the back seat of the car. I look at my baby boy, I look at his tiny face, his tiny hands, his tiny legs. You know, all these cutest things ever, and I have second thoughts. I was asking myself over and over again if I was about to do the right thing, if the vaccine would not harm my baby. I had these thoughts in my mind during the whole visit, and they were the strongest in this very moment when the needle was being stuck in my baby boy's tiny leg. Can you imagine this feeling? When we came back home, I kept observing him for hours. What did I expect? Kind of havoc, a disaster this unknown substance may have caused in this tiny body. I am a journalist. I know facts and statistics, but when it came to my life decision, I hesitated. I had a moment of doubt. Why did it happen? Obviously, I must have been infected by some catchy headlines somewhere on web. Somewhere. It's not somewhere. It was on parental groups on social media. They're full of misleading content and fakes. The virus must have been dormant, and it activated itself in this very moment of vulnerability. As a mother of first child, as every mother of a first child, I was walking a minefield. Exhausted after joining this exclusive club of non-sleepers, I was tired and under pressure. I had dozens of decisions to make, beginning from the blanket I should buy and ending at some strategic parental choices. I was in uncharted waters and had to make decisions I didn't feel competent for. And last but not least, I was acting in this state of high emotions, profound love, and the deepest fear. I felt like every mistake was unforgivable, as if I was about to break my baby. Who knows what I'm talking about? Raise your hands. Everyone can find him or herself in uncharted waters. Everyone can be in a new situation, act in this state of high emotions. And in this very moment, everyone can be hurt by misinformation. No matter age, gender, status, background, everyone can be hurt by misinformation. No one is immune. Misinformation is like poison to our minds. It has influence on what we think, what we feel, and what we choose. In 2018, among 10 top shared articles about health, 7 contained misleading or fake content. And it's not only about health, it's about money, it's about politics, it's about our lives. Because at the end of every piece of misinformation, there are real people with their lives, their emotions, and their decisions. Imagine Pavel. Pavel wants to buy a house. The house is worth 500,000 zlotys, $500,000. Pavel goes to the bank, and the bank says he cannot afford a loan. So he goes to a financial advisor, and the advisor has a solution. Pavel can get a loan of 500,000 zlotys, but denominated to Swiss franc. Denominated. What a difficult word. Pavel is convinced that he is borrowing 500,000 zlotys, and he's assured that the exchange rate of Swiss franc will never extend 2.5 zlotys. Today, the Swiss franc costs 4 zlotys To be precise, 3.91. And there was a time it went up to 5. What does it mean? It means that Pavel, who borrowed 500 zlotys and has already paid back 200 zlotys, still has 600,000 zlotys to pay back. And Pavel is not alone, because there were a million people like Pavel in Poland. Most of them are still stuck with their extreme loans, and they cannot move on. They have to pay their monthly installment with no guarantee that their loans will not grow again. This is their price for misinformation. What is left to them? Nothing, just to enjoy their lives in their extremely expensive houses, having breakfast with the family, pancakes, cornflakes. Speaking of which, have you bought cornflakes recently? Have you paid attention to the package? Have you noticed this gluten-free sign on it? It promises health and better life in general. In contrast to other full of gluten cornflakes, I'm surprised because there are no full of gluten cornflakes. Corn is gluten-free and it has always been. Like gluten was always present in a diet of healthy people. Always before 2011, when Peter Gibson from Australia announced his non-celiac gluten sensitivity theory. He cancelled it a few years later, but the second news did not spread so widely as the first one. It wasn't so catchy. So we have thousands of people around the world who remain on gluten-free diet with no reason. It won't hurt them, you can say. Probably it won't. But what if it does? Imagine Eva. Eva is a young mother who suffers breast cancer. She's in a hospital. She's lying on the bed and she's on her way to the operating room. She's lying on the bed, the way is long, and she sees nothing but the ceiling and lamps moving like an assembly line. And suddenly the nurse who's pushing her bed whispers her to ear kind of super friendly advice to Google about some hocus pocus treatment. Eva didn't follow this advice, but Anna did. After her oncologist was rude to her, she decided to try the alternative therapy. She didn't want to come back to any oncologist ever again, but she had to. She had to because her cancer grew and attacked other organs in her body. Now her chances for the cure are close to nothing. This is her price for misinformation. The fake has literally ruined her life. Some scientists say that we follow misinformation because we are mentally lazy. Others prove that better educated people are even more prone to fakes and misinformation since they rationalize their incorrect beliefs. No matter the reasons, we all can be victims of misinformation. Because at the end of every piece of misinformation, there's a real person. A person who's flooded with links on social media. A person who's overwhelmed with a number of choices to make. A person who's not an expert in every field. Is this person helpless? I assume you expect kind of quick fix from me, but I don't have any. What I can share with you is a piece of advice from my professional and personal experience. Change the perspective. Stop acting as if every news was a fact and start to act as if it was a fake. Do you know what I do when I see this package of cornflakes with this non-gluten sign on it? I turn the package around because I expect some hidden ingredients. When I see no hidden ingredients, I'm pleasantly disappointed. Just a little obsession. But what if we have a serious decision to make? then we should act not only like journalists do, then we should act like lawyers. They write their agreements not for the good times, but for the bad times. So imagine those bad times, think of worst case scenario, and ask questions. What if? What if the measles comes back to my country? No, not to my country. What if the measles comes back and comes to the group my child is attending in a kindergarten, and my child is not vaccinated? What if I have this huge loan, I want to change my life, but Swiss franc costs 7 slots? What if this alternative therapy is a fake, and I don't get better, I get worse? I know it's not easy to imagine all those bad times. It's better to dream about a fancy new house or a brand new car. But do it just for this little while, because it is you who, if it happens, will suffer the consequences. Not this nice lady from the bank, not a spin doctor of a political party, not a financial advisor. In a few years, he or she may be feeding dolphins in Australia. And you will be here with your life, your decisions, and the consequences you have to suffer. So you're not obliged to believe them. It's their job to convince you. Be suspicious. Do the double check. Check another unlinked source. I know it's not easy to challenge somebody who pretends to be an expert. He may be or in a hurry, may be anxious, angry, but it's not your worry. You don't have to be nice. Would you risk something really, really important just to comfort somebody? Just to be polite? And what is more important than your life? You have a right to doubt. You have a right to ask. You have a right to get answers. You have a right to fight for your life, your comfort, and your well-being. Because it is you, your family, your friend, or your dog, who at the end may suffer the consequences of misinformation. We don't have a perfect tool. A lot has to be done to fight fakes and misinformation. But until then, we can fight for ourselves. We might not be immune, but we're not helpless either.